is based on true events.
Oh, wow, you're telling me that Bud the CHUD is a true event that actually happened in real? That's so awesome! Like, I had so many questions I want to talk about in the podcast.
No, we are not to interfere with earthly events. We are the washers. So we cannot talk about this unspeakable movie that we're not supposed to be speaking of.
But I have so much I can talk about. It's like, I can tell you about everything.
No, I've got a little toy
Ooh,
here
look
for
at
you.
that.
Okay, here you go.
Cobra Commander.
Cobra Commander. Go play.
All right.
Okay, go play. Daddy has to work now.
The following podcast is based on true events.
What are we doing now?
We just started.
Paul, stop, please. You're totally ruining this, like you always do.
Rats in my room. I am bothered by those rats in my room.
Could you stop that music? That is totally wrong for this. I'm serious. Could you please put on the right theme music?
I just want to party.
It's time now for the show to begin. Thank you. Have a very pleasant evening.
You're not dreaming. You're listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast. We are resurrected Miss Wendy.
Hello.
How many shirts are we up to now?
1,575,000.
Counting shirts?
Yeah, still
Counting shirts.
from the last time she was on the episode.
Oh my gosh. And of course, also, I don't know if he's back from the dead. He might just be dead.
Yeah.
Aaron Lane.
Mostly dead.
Yeah.
Still partially
He
alive. Yeah,
Hey, wait.
died.
Don't take the gold from that side of the scale. That's for One-Eyed Willie. That's his treasure.
that's
Okay,
his-
leave that for him.
Got it.
Okay.
And then, of course, Paul Sanders, the pantsless producer of Bestow TV. We are not talking about CHUD 2, thank God, because it's hard.
I did all that research on CHUD too.
It's hardly a movie.
I did all right. So
Well, we lucked
all right.
out because I didn't even watch that one.
All right, so raise of hands. All right, so who did their due diligence right before this episode, knowing for weeks that we were going to do this episode?
I did my due diligence, and I watched the movie, the whole movie, and nothing but the movie. So
Which
help me,
movie?
Mr. Lobo.
I guess we have to specify.
We have to specify because since it was not a CHUD 2 episode, and the script of CHUD 2 was actually a discarded Return of the Living Dead sequel, we are actually talking about Return of the Living Dead, Dan O'Bannon's classic from 1985.
Oh,
So
I
you
just
watched
watched
the
the Rave the Grave one.
You watched from Rave to the Grave?
You watched Rave to the Grave? Even the people who made the show didn't watch it.
I can't remember which number that one
Yeah,
was.
I have to give it to Aaron. He'd actually put more effort. I just read a Wikipedia article. Watched Red Letter Media, and I watched Brad Jones, and that's it. And I called it a day. I didn't.
Well, can we have them come in here and talk to them about this movie?
The Red Letter Media review of it's probably longer than watching the movie itself. So-
I don't understand those shows where they literally just go through every scene one at a time.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the opening credits. Okay, I'm going to say my little thing about it.
Well,
and
that's,
here's the first scene.
That's the commentary. I didn't watch the commentary
okay.
stuff. They do a review where it's a little bit.
Oh, okay, a
probably
little
about half
truncated,
an hour.
huh?
Yeah,
All right.
they just reminisce.
All right, reminisce about Return of the Living Dead.
CHUD 2.
CHUD 2. We've talked about this. Why did we only get 2 CHUDs?
Huh?
That just as
Did we even technically get 2 CHUDs? We only got 1 CHUD.
We really only got one
We got
CHUD.
a CHUD and a CHUD name only.
Yeah, what's
What's the acronym?
One of
CHUD.
those,
CHUD.
like-
we got a CHUD and a
It's one of those Singapore
Yeah.
bootleg DVDs where they just slap another
Yeah.
franchise title on
yeah,
it.
we got a CHUD actually.
CHUD 2. And they just skipped the first one.
Because he isn't a CHUD at all. I know we're not supposed to talk about it, but he is just a zombie. He's not a CHUD. CHUDs are these weird, they're like hairless cats almost. They're bald, they have big eyes, they have weird long ears. They live underground, they eat people. These are not, in the movie that shall not be named, They are Return of the Living Dead zombies, basically. They have the same chemical. They have a chemical compound that reanimates them, and nothing can ever kill them.
But the cover of CHUD 2 is the creatures from CHUD 1. It's not Bud the CHUD on that cover.
And they even have like the sewer grate and everything.
Yes.
Like they're coming out of the
They're
sewer.
all in silhouette. They had the glowing eyes.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
no glowing eyes, no sewer. Yeah, no. It's so anyhow. So
Well, it's CHUD TOO.
oh, CHUD
Also
2.
CHUD.
Also CHUD.
Yeah.
Look, Mom, the CHUD is talking.
Yeah, it's CHUD like in the way that CHUD is just like an insult for a schlubby guy.
Yeah.
We didn't even know there was a movie with
Yeah,
monsters
right.
called CHUD. This is CHUD 2.
CHUD 2.
Also.
CHUD also. Anyway, so we're not going to talk about that.
Because we didn't watch it.
Because we didn't watch it. And no one really should. Return of the Living Dead, on the other hand, I think is a really good film. I mean, I think a lot of people forget it's a comedy. It is a comedy. It has a lot of rough stuff in it, but it is a comedy.
Not as much of a comedy as the second one.
No, I think the problem with comedy is that the key to good comedy is to not try so hard at being funny. I think once you start...
Shit, that's my problem.
Yes, this is an intervention, Paul.
Damn it, you tricked
It hit
me.
that perfect like Evil Dead 2 level of comedy horror
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
hit the perfect mix of it without going too far one way or the other.
I think you have to, again, a joke works because there's a setup and there's a punchline. If you're just throwing punchlines out, then you completely untether yourself from anything, and people are just waiting for the next joke instead of being surprised.
Or if you're Monty Python, you just skip the punchlines.
Yeah, that's
Set up and move on to something else.
yeah. That's because you hate your audience. But no, but I think that one of the things that's great about Return of the Living Dead is that, like I said, it is funny, but it doesn't sacrifice any of the scares or the gore or the zombies or any of that. It's not like Transylvania 65000 where they set you up with, there's going to be a bunch of monsters in here, and then they take all of it back where there's no monsters in the whole movie. Everyone you thought was a monster, that wasn't a werewolf. He just has that disease where your hair grows all over your body. It's like there was just everybody.
It's 2 hours of Kramer doing shtick.
Yeah.
Before he was Kramer.
And you just, so that's...
I hope it's not a stand-up comedy shtick.
Oh, no.
Yeah, half of it was censored.
Cut out.
So I think that again, I think that's a weird thing with a lot of comedies where there's sort of bite too hard on the thing that they're making fun of. That does happen sometimes where they're almost shaming you for liking the genre, but honestly, only people who really like that genre would get all of the jokes that you're making. So it's a very, like I said, I think it's very hard to effectively do comedy and I think Return of the Living Dead Part 2 does that really well, to where it takes itself seriously enough to where it's still a movie. And it's really funny,
Well, and if you push too far into the parody, you just end out with Scary Movie 6,
Oh, God.
Just forgets to even be a movie.
Now a lot of people really love Return of the Living Dead Part 2. I got this screwdriver in my head. I think a lot of the people who saw it, they saw it when they were 8 or 10. And I think that movie was actually, which is weird, this on the subject of sequels that never were, that was not written to be a Return of the Living Dead sequel. It was actually supposed to be more like a Monster Squad kind of thing, like a kids movie. And then the studio,
Monster Squad 2.
and I'm imagining that the studio was reading the script that became CHUD 2 and went, this is not going to work. Hey, this thing that you're working on, that's going to be Return of the Living Dead Part 2 now. We'll make this something else. So then they had to go and get all of the people from Return of the Living Dead and cast them. They all die at the end of Return of the Living Dead. And they bring back as many of those actors as possible to be in Return of the Living Dead Part 2. And they also write in the Tar Man, which again, the Tar Man's head is knocked off. Somehow he's back. and then they also bring in, of course, the trioxin 245 and all of those. They bring those elements in. The same thing that they did in the movie that we're not talking about, where they have characters mentioning events from the first CHUD, but it doesn't make any sense because
Right.
it doesn't. None of it lines up.
And I mean, at least with Return of the Living Dead Part 2, they do what a true sequel does and escalate.
Yeah.
You know, because the Part 1 only takes place in like these two buildings and in the graveyard, and that's about it. Whereas
Yeah.
this kind of takes place in this little suburb and this little town, and there's a lot more going on.
Yeah,
in
they
Part
go to
2.
the power station at the end.
Yeah.
You brought up an interesting thing about Return of the Living Dead Part 2 in its promotion. The poster, and they even had like a plastic sculpture of this thing, where it's like this ghoul face in the clouds. It really honestly kind of resembles the torso zombie from Return of the Living Dead in the face, but it's just a ghoul's face in the clouds, and it's pretty much exactly the Fright Night poster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And imagine teenage me who's a latchkey kid and was able to go to rent anything at the video store, and these two things are next to each other, and I go and I rent this, and I'm like, why the hell are there zombies in the middle of my vampire movie? Or why are there vampires in the middle of my zombie movie?
It ended up creating the Reese's peanut butter cups of movie experiences. You got vampires in my zombie movie. You got zombies in my vampire movie. So yeah, the literal identical branding for those two movies, and we never really got a good explanation for that.
Yeah.
You tried to guess.
AI gave me crap.
You tried to ask AI if.
That's what AI does.
Yeah. You tried to ask AI if those two posters were done by the same person,
artist.
which would be kind of a cheap move, honestly.
Yeah.
Getting two paychecks for two different posters.
That you just traced your other one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with modern movie posters, that happens where it'll be like 6 different movies advertised in theaters. That's the same poster with different heads on them.
Yeah.
All blue and orange.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of just like, I think there's only like 4 poster motifs, and they just sort of just keep recycling them over and over and over again. But it is interesting, the phenomenon of like phenomenon. Phenomenon. Okay, that's enough. Enough. In the early 80s, there was the sort of the VHS explosion. And in the same way that like a lot of people had VCRs in their house so they could watch porn, they could readily have access to movies with some weird, raw, crazy stuff that's never been in movies before. And I feel like the 80s was an explosion of stuff you'd never see in a movie. Mm-hmm. And by the late 80s, there was so much criticism. PG-13 came in, and all these sort of parent groups and video nasties. By the time the second Return of the Living Dead came out, they weren't able to put out a product with that kind of edge that the first movie has. I don't know. There's a lot of examples of this. And there's a lot of weird movies in the 80s where it's too adult for children, but then too much like a kid's movie for adults.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really succeed on either front.
I remember as a kid,
Yeah.
my dad taking me to the video store, and he takes me to the child section.
Yeah.
Oh, rent whatever cartoon you want. And I picked the cartoon based off of the cover, just much like Fright Night and Return of the Living Dead Part 2 as an adult, or as a teenager rather.
Yeah.
And I picked this movie, and there's just little kid penises and wing wangs and everything else. I mean, looking back at it, I think it was Dragon Ball. I think I picked Dragon Ball, but it was in the children's section, and it's just like,
wow. So if it was Suncoast, it would have that little sticker with the frowny face on it. The slash going through it.
It was just a mom and pop store, but it was like my
Wow.
dad plopping me down in front of the VCR and going doing whatever. So I'm just watching this by myself.
This was a common thing where I put all the animated movies in one section and just assume they were all for kids.
Yes.
It's like, hey, Mom, here's Coonskin. Can we watch this tonight?
And then when I'm older, when they put the anime movies out, when I was in college,
Yeah.
all the anime movies were behind the curtain. You had to go to the adult section if you wanted to watch Akira or something.
That's right. It's not your grandpa's hentai.
Euroseka Doji.
Yeah.
For kids.
Oh, my God. So, there was a kind of a, I think between, and then there was midnight movies, which is sort of the same sort of thing where people went to go see stuff that you just wasn't available for people to see. And I actually kind of feel like the home video market kind of killed the midnight movie in that regard. Whereas I think a movie like Return of the Living Dead, which did play midnights, by the end of the 80s, I feel like that wasn't really necessary.
Well, I know we were just talking about, because that's where I saw Return of the Living Dead.
Was it midnight?
Yeah, it was, I think Trash Film Orgy, or it was a midnight movie at the Crest. Where you used to work. And
Right. So, and that was, word of mouth was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh my gosh, they, they're eating brains in this movie or whatever. But anyway, we're gonna go try to rustle up some brains here, and we'll be right back. Brains, and we'll be back with more Sleepless Nights of Insomnia.
Do.
Eat 'em up! Go! These are CHUD.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. Prepare for horror, laughs, and thrills in this outrageous sequel to the home video hit CHUD, CHUD 2.
But the CHUD 2.
Starring Brian Robbins from Head of the Class, Garrett Graham of Police Academy 6, Robert Vaughn, Bianca Jagger, Larry Linville of MASH, and many other popular stars.
A dead body is nothing to be afraid of.
He's suave.
Are you heterosexual?
He's charming. He's different.
Well, he eats people. I guess that could be interpreted as personality quirk.
He's Bud the Chud, a half-dead, decomposing humanoid, the result of a military experiment gone haywire. The Army, the police, and the FBI can't seem to stop this ravenous plague. But a group of clever kids might just chill the Chuds.
Unreal.
CHUD 2. This Chud's for you.
Let me ask you a question, kid. Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Yeah, that's the one where the corpses start eating the people, right? Sure.
Da-da-da-da-da-da, bum, 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 ba-bum, bum, 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 ba-bum, ba-bum, bum, 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 ba-bum, bum. Anyway,
eat 'em up. Yum. That's the only thing I remember from. I think it was CHUD 2. It had to be CHUD 2.
That's a different one. That's all. Yeah, I think that is from CHUD 2. But we're not talking about CHUD 2. We're talking about Return of the Living Dead. That is the trioxin theme that I was bumbling through. Trioxin is the thing that brings the zombies to life. It's described in the movie by James Karen, who is a character named Frank, who works in a medical supply. You need a medical supply, and he starts telling this new hire, this new worker, Freddie, who I don't know if he's in a band or if he just goes to concerts, but he's sort of a punk kid, kind of a post-punk, new wave kid. He's got his...
He's not dressed like his friends.
Yeah, he's definitely friends with a bunch of punkers.
Yeah.
But
He's got a Visage shirt. I wouldn't call them punk per se. He's got a bandana tied around his leg. The punkest thing about him is he's got a baseball jacket that says "fuck you" on the back. Yeah. But then there's another baseball jacket that says "television version." On the back. So all those scenes had to be filmed twice. That's crazy. So anyhow, Freddie and Frank are working in this medical supply place while his punk rock friends are trying to find a place to party outside somewhere. And Frank tells him this story. Now, this is the most meta thing ever in a movie.
Before we're all like meta. Everything's meta now.
So
Deadpool's meta
in the
now,
middle of this, I guess a little bit of backstory on this is like there was a movie called Night of the Living Dead. And, of course, Return of the Living Dead is a semi-sequel to that. The reason I say semi-sequel is because Night of the Living Dead was created by John Russo and George Romero, mostly George Romero with John Russo. But the two of them created Night of the Living Dead. And Romero had made, Dawn of the Dead, and then he was working on Day of the Dead. And then John Russo split it off in a different direction with the Return of the Living Dead 1, 2, 3. And he gets to say Living Dead because I think he wrote the screenplay. So he gets his is Living Dead. And then Romero's is all, Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead.
And Romero was originally supposed to direct Return of the Living Dead, but never answered the phone call. Never answered that phone.
Yeah. So, so Dan O'Bannon was brought in to direct this movie. Dan O'Bannon, of course, wrote Alien, and didn't have that much experience as a director, but he was brought in, and he made a lot of changes to the script, and a lot of it was he wanted it to he didn't want to tread on Romero too much in it. And one of the things he did was kind of created this idea that the movie Night of the Living Dead was a thing that really happened, and that they changed all the facts around because they didn't want to get sued by the government or the army or the chemical company. And so in the middle of their day of training, Frank's like, "You ever heard of that movie, Night of the Living Dead?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's the one where the zombies came out of the ground and started eating people." And it's like, "Yeah, well, did you know that was based on a real case?" And then he goes into the whole story about how the Darrow Chemical Company,
not Dow, even though it is Dow, but it's not Dow.
Yeah, the Darrow Chemical Company had some chemical called trioxin 2,4,5. Which they sprayed on marijuana for some reason. Every urban legend sort of folds into this thing. This stuff that they sprayed on marijuana during the Vietnam era, and there was a bunch of dead soldiers at a VA hospital that started coming back to life, and they started twitching on their tables and stuff. And George Romero, who was supposedly made this movie in Pittsburgh, based on that, and then the government and the chemical company put this pressure on him to change all the facts around so that it doesn't resemble what really happened. So two things are established here. One, it tells everyone, yes, we are continuing from Return of the Living Dead, but no, we're not going to do anything exactly like Return of the Living Dead. So, so at this moment, after he tells this story of how it goes, well, if this was a secret, and why do you know about it? How are you telling me this story if nobody knows this? And he goes, well, this is a typical Army F up. They got the transportation order screwed up, and instead of sending those canisters back to the chemical company or back to the government to be analyzed or whatever, they sent them to the medical supply place on accident, and that those bodies are down in the basement. And goes, "Do you want to see them?" And gleefully, they just, like a couple of kids, run down there to look at these bodies that are down in the basement. And they get down in the basement, and there's this canister, and it's, Dan O'Bannon, I think, likes to have these sort of reoccurring themes in his movie. Now, Alien was an enormous success. There's this kind of area here where we see these tanks, and they have kind of domed tops, and I kind of feel like this is like the eggs from Alien all over again. And so they come across these giant, weird tanks that are sort of domed on top, and he says that they look in, he wipes the thing. I love he used a whole roll of paper towels. Just the whole, doesn't tear off a sheet, just the whole tube, just rubs it across. And they look inside of it, and they see the
CHUD.
But the CHUD. But the CHUD, no. But no, they don't. They see, it looks like the tar man, honestly, in there. I think that is the tar man in there.
It would make sense because that's the only thing that's in the basement.
Freddy's like, "Are you scared this thing's going to get out?" And he's like, "Oh, this was made by the Army Corps of Engineers." Boom! And he hits the side of it, and this gas sprays out, which knocks them out entirely. Now I'm sounding like one of those shows that I was criticizing, where we're just telling you blow for blow what happens in the movie.
See, then this scene,
this happened,
and then this happened, and this happened.
Should I send this to Red Letter Media? You think they'll put us up
maybe
on their site?
So the gas knocks them out, and what's the amazing thing thing about this is that, up until this point, these two people live these two guys live in a world in which zombies, reanimated dead people, don't exist. And after they wake up from that gas, they now are contending with this problem of reanimated corpses everywhere, and trying to keep it from spreading. What I think is really interesting about Dan O'Bannon as a writer, and this is something I've always wanted to ask him, but he's dead, unfortunately. But this idea of the waking dream, and I probably mentioned it on the podcast before, but in Alien, they wake up from hypersleep, and then aliens are real. You have the waking nightmare, right? And then in the B-17 story from Heavy Metal, there are the pilots that are on the plane, and then one of them goes to the back of the plane and gets knocked out by a canister. Now, that story isn't about that character, but after that guy gets knocked out, those weird...
But the CHUD.
Those weird CHUDs on the airplane in the B-17 story are trying to kill them. In Total Recall, which was also a Dan O'Bannon screenplay, Arnold Schwarzenegger goes to the recall place, and after he gets that implant, suddenly he's a super spy, and he's in this whole other world that we've never seen before.
I think I got that one. I got this one here.
Yes.
I'm but the child. I'll eat him up, yum, yum, yum.
But wasn't he also the genie, though?
I'm the genie, too.
Oh, God. So they let that genie out of the bottle, and the credits start. And one of the things that's interesting about the opening credits of Return of the Living Dead is that it's a time lapse of the everything melting away from the zombie inside the case. We're looking through the window of it, and it's just intense heat on this, I guess, wax head that's over this plastic skull.
Yeah, it's similar. They did the similar thing with Tot from
Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah.
Where their faces are all melted.
It's reversed.
So they've got this thing in the case, and they're melting it, and they're filming it time lapse. But the glass cracks,
and shatters,
and it's not supposed to. It just got too hot and cracked, and that's the big impact for the introduction. But it was a total accident.
Well, it probably cost too much to redo it.
Yeah,
so
it's like, all right, this is what we got.
It's what we got.
So anyway, and it is an incredibly low budget movie, honestly, for how ambitious it is. And so speaking of low budget and lack of ambition, we'll be back with more Sleepless Nights of Insomnia.
If you're seeing me right now, do not adjust your televisor. It's probably because your future horror host with a great hat is doing their least ambitious episode ever. I can't host a movie. On a day like today, you gotta fight Klingons, and reprogram computers, and talk to plants, travel through the multiverses.
And cut.
You know that movie was based on a true case.
Okay, so a lot of things happen, and I'm not going to go scene for scene for scene anymore.
Yeah, it's a shame that they didn't get John Goodman back and
Daniel Stern.
Bushwhacked.
Yeah. The thing I think that is interesting, because I think that, like, what do zombies say, Wendy?
Brains.
Right. And I don't think they ever said that before this movie.
No.
I think this is the movie where zombies eat brains. And I think the only reason is because they just made it the opposite of everything in Night of the Living Dead. In Night of the Living Dead, you had to shoot it through the brain. You kill the brain, you kill the ghoul. In this movie, they eat brains.
Yeah, and nothing kills them.
And nothing kills them. And they don't eat flesh like they're not flesh eaters like the Night of the Living Dead.
And they're fast as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People talk about World War Z and, they're too fast. Or they don't fast enough or whatever.
Is that the start of the fast zombie also?
Pretty much.
Well, yes. But, because Romero was always very critical of the fast zombies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
he had fast zombies in his later movies.
In Night of the Living Dead, the first movie, zombie number 1 chases a car with a rock.
Yeah.
So it's not a thing that they... Sure, he's shambling a little bit, but he's trucking.
Yeah.
So it's...
And the CHUDs, they just tear ass.
Oh, yeah.
They don't... They do a little shamble, but they're pretty fast.
And they talk.
Yes.
They talk. You know any lines, zombie lines, other than brains? Famous lines?
Can I whisper it to her?
Go ahead, whisper to me.
Send more paramedics.
Does he also say send more police at one
Send
point?
more cops.
Send more cops, that's it.
You got to do it, dude, in the voice.
Send
Ready?
more cops.
What's funny about it is because I remember it just like how Miss Wendy remembers it, right? Where it's just like, send more paramedics or, send more cops. But, they're actually more articulate than that. It's like he picks up the receiver, like, come in, dispatch. Send more paramedics. And it's just like, that's really sophisticated. That is not a dumb zombie.
Well, I mean, they're holding on a full-on conversation with a rotting corpse on the...
Yeah.
That's true.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And, they explain why they're eating the brains, because it satisfies the pain. It's like the flesh doesn't really do much.
Yeah. There's some. And I'm assuming it's some sort of fluid in the human brain,
right?
That somehow eases the pain of being dead. Which the concept of that, you can see the guy who's the mortician is completely just really bothered by that idea that it hurts to be dead.
Ernie.
Yeah, the zombie does say it can feel itself rotting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I think it was Red Letter Media that pointed out, where it's like they're rotting and stuff like that, but they're not taken aback by, like, they'll get stabbed or they'll get punched or whatever, and they're not really taken aback by any of that stuff.
No, they don't. They don't.
They're probably already in so much pain that it's not really registering a big difference.
No, it's interesting to me that none of the punkers come back as zombies, because like even the way that Return
aside from Trash.
Yeah.
Trash. Yeah, Trash does. But like in the advertising of the movie, they all get the rain soaked on them. They all get the acid rain soaked on them from when they burn up the first zombie that they try to dispose of. Mm-hmm. And but all of the marketing shows punk rockers as zombies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like guys with mohawks and leather jackets as zombies. That's not in that movie.
Right, and that movie poster is what it's that Ma and Pa.
Oh yeah.
Mock-up, but they're punks instead. They're punks and they're skeletons.
Right. You're right. It is. It's American Gothic.
Yeah.
Where it's the mom and pop and they're only they're punks. That's really interesting. And then there's one other one coming up, spray painting the tombstone there, which has the title.
I know something that we were talking about while we were watching it is the 80s made it seem like we were going to encounter acid rain a lot more often growing up than we actually ended out. This movie had it. A lot of cartoons when I was a kid had an acid rain episode. Transformers had one.
Yeah,
G.I.
you
Joe
said
had
that.
one,
You said that both Transformers and G.I. Joe had an acid
rain and
episode.
quicksand. We all had to
quicksand
worry about.
And this has both, honestly. It has them coming out of the mud and falling into mud. And I think what is the acid rain thing is like I said, a very 80s thing. It is one of those things that we're worried about all the time. And I don't know if acid rain. I mean, it must happen, especially in industrialized areas, but it isn't the kind of thing where everyone everywhere is hiding from acid rain.
Which, with how much we've beat up the environment, you would think it would be everywhere by now.
Yeah. So that was kind of a sort of a hot topic. Another thing that's kind of awful in this movie is not awful, and Dan O'Bannon was criticized a lot because there's a lot of people screaming and stuff. Like they felt like a lot of the acting was overdone or over emotive. But I guess he has some kind of, I don't know if it's a brain tumor or some kind of, I know he had intense migraines and sort of huge health issues. And he's like, no, when you're in pain, you do cry out like that. You do over emote like that.
When he wasn't torturing his actresses.
Yes,
because he
that's
would
what
do
I was
that
going to
too.
say is that I feel like because he was a person who had chronic pain. I don't think he had much empathy for able-bodied people, and he wasn't very nice to. I forgot what the actress's name is.
I can't remember.
The one where he tricked with the step that was broken to fall through.
Yeah.
And she said like she cried so much that scene in the end where was it Frank?
Yeah.
Frank's dying. She's not crying because she can't cry anymore because she's cried so much during that filming.
Oh, Freddie. You're talking
Freddie.
about when she's holding Freddie and she's trying to cry.
Yeah.
Thanks, Freddie is her boyfriend, right? Frank is her boyfriend's boss.
Sure.
Sure. But yeah, she couldn't cry. They were like when she falls through those steps, she really falls through those steps, and she didn't know that she was going to fall through those steps.
Yeah, they saw those steps and didn't tell her.
Wow.
And well, they told her that it was. They said there was a breakaway step, but they said that it was a practice and that it was. That's how I heard it anyway. That they said it was it wasn't going to break away in the practice, and they were really filming, and they just let her fall through it, and she hurt herself, and she's really crying there when she falls through. I feel like as good of a movie as that is, and as much respect I have for Dunham Bannon, I don't think I could ever do that to an actor. I mean, maybe Aaron could. I'm joking,
Are you speaking from experience?
I'm joking.
I was there for the depraved. I know. Who was encouraging them?
When Jesse just like full on punched you in the head, and I'm just like.
Can we get a second take on that? The camera wasn't rolling. Can we do that again?
I did get straight punched, and I got my eye cut. It cut me under the eye. Jessie had boxing gloves on, and she was supposed to pretend to hit me, and then of course she really hit me. That's a great bit of footage. We never did finish that episode.
No, I still have it. So.
I guess we can add that to the episode, or just have her punch me again.
Yep.
But the interesting thing about that is that on the other side of that, even though I wouldn't put another actor through that just to get a shot, when I know that Jessie punched me for real, I didn't just call cut or try to pretend.
Trying to save the footage.
I swooned and fell over like a cartoon character, even though I was in real pain. I followed through with the rest of the scene because I knew it probably looked good. I knew that it probably because for real, I really did get punched, and so I wanted to preserve that.
I guess the one thing I would say to defend myself is I'll put myself through just as bad to make sure I get a shot, if not worse.
I've got a story to derail it totally from Return of the Living Dead. Is when we're doing Williamsport Comic Con, you're supposed to throw yourself out, and I'm like, I just need to frame it. Can you just go through the paces? But I'm filming it while we're going through the paces, and he really throws himself out the door, and I'm like, all right, can we do a second take of it? And Lobo's like, really? I got to do that again? As you're throwing yourself onto the concrete ground.
Yeah. And I think I flipped myself over.
You flipped yourself over.
Yeah.
So
I
can we do this for real now?
I sort of completely flip over onto the concrete. And I feel like I did it 3 times.
Might have done like a practice one, and the one that I said I just wanted to pace it because I'm like, I have to move with you.
Yeah.
So if you fall out of frame, we don't have it, and I felt like you sort of fell out of frame, so we had to do it maybe a third time or a second time, whichever it was.
I was so sore after doing that, but not as sore as I was. I made a film with the Trash Film Orgy called Planet of the Vampire Women, and I have my heart torn out. It's surprising there's not a heart being pulled out in Return of the Living Dead because that's such a cliche thing, and especially in 80s movies. But I get my heart torn out.
There is one in CHUD too. He gives the heart to the girl at the end. He does rip his head out. So this does link around to CHUD too.
But the heart pull is such a ridiculous thing because it's in so many movies, and it's like it doesn't make any sense unless there's magic involved, like Indiana Jones. Unless there's magic, it's like it's so wired into you with all this muscle. You've got to somehow get around the rib cage somehow. You've got to grab it and pull it out without pulling out anything else. and then it's always intact and still beating when it comes out. It's such a ridiculous, dumb thing that makes no sense. There's no way to make that make sense in any way, shape, or form. But it's in a million movies. That exact thing of someone reaching through into someone's chest, pulling their heart straight out. So I've been in 3 movies, I think, where this exact thing has happened, and it's not like, it's just accidentally been in 3 movies where that happens. In the plan,
is that in your writer?
In the plan, yeah.
It must be in a movie.
Must be a heart pull. But anyhow, so I get my heart pulled out by a sexy vampire woman, which of course, as you do, and I fall to my knees. And the good folks at the Trash Film Orgy, how do I put this? They're often enhanced by herbal supplements.
As long as they're not exposed to trioxin afterwards, they're okay.
It must have been sprayed with trioxin 245. But anyhow, I did 40 takes on that over and over and over again, and I kept falling on my knees every time. And both my legs were swollen.
There wasn't much of padding below for you to fall on either.
No. And so both my knees were swollen and bruised and bloody, and like it's this one shot for like 2 seconds, and it wasn't for any good reason other than it's like, well, let's just try it again, or maybe we could try it from a different angle. Well, let's try it from this angle. Let's try it from that angle. Well, let's try it from this other angle. And so, but yeah, anyhow, it is one of those things where, that kind of like, when you're in the moment and making a movie, and it's like you're gonna do whatever's necessary to get that shot. But on the other hand, I kind of feel like there's a certain responsibility from the director to sort of minimize how much you're going to let that actor hurt themselves.
Yeah.
Even if they're a willing participant, I feel like you are responsible to not let that person hurt themselves.
He just ran that one actress to the ground where he had her running through the mud like over and over and over, like in the rain and in the mud and the cold. And what's the actress that played Trash? Because like she had to do
Linnea Quigley.
Her nude scenes practically in the rain all the time.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't all get pneumonia, honestly. And then that was the interesting thing too, because I think she was not technically an actress. I think she was a stripper.
Yeah.
And then they brought her in, and it started a whole film career for her. She became Scream Queen.
She became a stripper
1.
in all the movies.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, but I feel like she's a lot more game for anything than the other actress that he had fall through the steps and fall in the mud and everything else. Because from the cons that I've worked with her and stuff, she seems pretty close to her character as far as just down for anything.
She's down for anything, and I think that's the kind of person you want on your horror movie, is someone who's down for anything. And I almost
feel like he was punishing the other actress for not being as game as...
I think he was a little upset with because all of the male punks, they like shaved their heads and had real mohawks, and
it wasn't that
and the
they did that on their own. Wasn't that the backstory with all that? That they weren't supposed to. They just showed up with the mohawks.
Yeah, she didn't really look punk rock the way the others did.
And then
she looks like her boyfriend.
And the actresses, all the actresses, even Linnea, she's got sort of a pink short wig that she's wearing, but but none of them are really like, their hair is not extreme as far as punk styles go. And that one actress, Casey, she's terrible. Like her hair looks like it's going to fall off half the time. It looks like a bad wig, and sort of a faux hawk that's sort of, I think it's purple on one side and blue on the other or something, and she's really bad. Like her improv is like, we gotta call somebody. Well, we gotta call somebody, and we gotta call somebody. Like she can't. She's not rolling with a bunch of other things like everybody else is. But what was great about that movie is that they even though she kind of sucks, most of the banter back and forth is really, really good, and it's very like. Unlike most movies, they actually had rehearsals like a play. So that that's very, Aaron, these movies, they don't like just usually they show up and people are still reading the script for the first time.
Trying to hide their script slightly out of the shot, and they're still reading off of it while you're filming.
So so that was the thing I think that is really interesting and different about this movie too, is you could definitely, even the people who aren't that good, you can feel this camaraderie with them, and they all have a lot of business because they've all been together
beforehand.
for a couple of weeks beforehand. Yeah, I think it really makes a difference and makes that movie really, really unique, because I think that it's got good improv. We're gonna try to practice some of our improvisation before we come back.
me.
Yes, and we'll be back with more Sleepless Knights podcast.
I'm Bud the CHUD.
Oh God, that's awful.
Somewhere in space, this may be happening right now. 20th Century Pants and Alan Smithy, the man who brought you popcorn during American Graffiti, now bring you an adventure not like anything on your planet. Uber fans, the story of a boy, a girl, and a universe, and a man in a dog costume or something. It's a big, sprawling space saga of rebellion and romance and goblins, starring Michael Housel as Luke Starkiller, Anita Gale as Princess Peach, John McCallum as Emperor Prawns, David William Ramey as PC-30, Wendy Sews as Bounty Hunter No. 2, and Brock Peters as Dark Vadar, plus these superfans from behind the Deflector Shield. Join the Alliance at cinemainsomnia.com/podcast. Podcast with 2 Ds for 2DD2. We'll see you members in segment 5. This show is 1 billion years in the making, but it's coming to your galaxy right now.
Aaron, are you saying beans? Because that's what I'm hearing. And what are you, Tickle Me Elmo?
Tickle me?
Tarman me Elmo? That's racist. We can't say that on the podcast.
This is going to have us canceled.
So brains, this was something that Aaron and I noticed, because I always think of the Tarman saying brains. Like, brains, right? And his tongue flapping. And then he says, more brains. And then he bites out of top of Suicide's head, the main punk guy. And, but in the movie, just when there's crowds of zombies, they are saying brains, just like I feel like almost everyone's characterization of modern zombies is they're all chanting brains. It's not just specifically Tarman. I don't know why I never really took much notice of that, but the other zombies are saying brains also. Speaking of Tarman, they just dropped a trailer for Return of the Living Dead, the reboot. It's supposed to come out at Christmas
Return of the
time.
Living Dead family Christmas.
John Denver and the Muppets and Tarman.
They're going to resurrect John Denver.
John Denver as the Tarman.
Yes, John.
Rocky Mountain High.
John Denver is the Tarman. So we just watched the trailer. It's basically just Tarman towing a Christmas tree through a cemetery.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's really going to be in the movie or if it's going to be Christmas in the movie.
I think it's because it's Christmas.
Because it's coming out on Christmas.
It's dropping on Christmas.
Yeah.
And we've got they're singing Silent Night and the whole thing. And it just brings this whole thing of like more modern movies always seeming to be Christmas and horror tied together.
I think because there's a huge contrast between that, and there's so much like dread around Christmas time and stress around Christmas time anyway. I think it kind of like releases a lot of that. But honestly, historically, horror stories were told at Christmas time. I mean, that's why Christmas Carol is about ghosts.
Yep.
Well, and it's funny. A minute ago, we were mentioning horror movies take place at Christmas, and Krampus was one that we were talking about. And I remember the first time I saw that was just a couple years ago. And the first act of that movie where it's just the family dealing with each other, to me, had me way more stressed out than the horror stuff once Krampus showed up.
Come on, Krampus, just take them out. They're all assholes.
It's much more of a horror movie just spending Christmas with these people.
Yeah, Aaron, and I've met some of your family, and I can see why a lot of that really struck you that way.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it is interesting. I mean, we've done probably more Christmas Cinema Insomnia episodes than we've done Halloween ones, or maybe almost as many. I know we have quite a few.
Yeah. I think we probably still have more Halloween, but we have several Christmas episodes.
And they're popular.
Yeah.
Of course, we got Silent Night, Bloody Night. And, we did do Christmas Carol, of course. My big argument, it has ghosts in it.
Yeah. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Yeah, it's Starman in it.
Yeah, that's right. But, we did You Better Watch Out.
Yeah.
And which you always have a killer Santa, and then we've got Terrifier. We never hosted that, but
we hosted Terrifier.
I hosted All Hallows Eve, which was the Terrifier short.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was the first place it was ever shown.
Sacramento.
Was in Sacramento. Yeah. And I remember asking those guys, I'm like, so what's next? Like, oh, we're going to try and make a feature out of this. I'm like, oh, yeah, Art the Clown is going to be able to hold a whole feature together. Yeah, good luck, guys. But no, they did it, and I'm proud of them. I mean, that's amazing. I'm joking. All jokes aside, I mean, that's incredible. And, it's kind of an interesting story, a success story where a little indie short becomes a whole franchise. And Return of the Living Dead, I mean, comes from a similar lineage. I mean, no one had expectations of Night of the Living Dead other than it was going to be drive-in fare. It was probably going to, play during the summer of 1968 or whatever, and probably like grindhouses and drive-ins, and that'd be that.
How many people can say they had Mr. Rogers come to their horror movie screening?
Only George Romero. Only George Romero. George Romero worked at PBS, so he filmed a lot of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and so Mr. Rogers, has said nice things and has been in support of Night of the Living Dead because of that.
Now, what is your thought towards like reboots? I know like a lot of people are like, we're tired of the reboots and the rehashes and everything. What are your thoughts towards this? Question to everybody at the table.
Return of the Living Dead, the first one's already sort of a reboot of Night of the Living Dead already. So it's like a reboot of a reboot.
I think it's kind of sad because I feel like Return of the Living Dead, at least part one, is the only one that's worth a damn. Why don't they reboot the second or the third one or one of the other ones?
At least they're not rebooting Necropolis.
Yeah. Grave to the grave.
Yeah.
CHUD 2.
But I understand that, this is the birthday. Today is the birthday.
Yes.
This is what, a 40-year-old
Yep.
God.
State the date.
So this is August 16th, 1985.
Wow.
August 16th, 1985 is when this premiered. So that's 40 years ago. Mm-hmm. So there's been a whole nother generation. And so, for that story to stay potent and stay viable, it might be time to do it again, especially if they're going to go forward with anything.
Right. I mean, my thought is that I don't feel like it ever really got a fair shake. You only really had that first movie. There's maybe the second movie, but that's about it.
Some of the sequels were so bad that it might hurt it to put a number on the end of it as being part 8 or 9.
Yeah,
we're just redoing the first one.
Yeah, I mean, and again, looking at things like, I mean, the when they brought Halloween back, I mean, people loved that new Halloween. I think they did that with Friday the 13th too, right? Didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They only did the one, but
Naked Gun.
Yeah, Naked Gun.
Yes, Naked Gun. They did do a Naked Gun.
Though Naked Gun was a closet sequel.
Yeah.
It is actually Naked Gun 4.
I kind of feel like, I guess, a Superman, to a certain degree, even though the first Superman is technically Superman the movie.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times people say Superman 2025 to make the distinction between the versions of it. So I think it's stories need to be told. So I think it's good to I hope they just do a good job.
Hopefully, it's good enough that it gets sequels, and we can have
and it would be nice if
something different.
If there were sequels that again kind of had a similar tone and all work together and can go forward. Because I think that
because I mean, once we reboot this, then we've got CHUD 3 work into it. We can make parallels.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, maybe.
But the CHUD could be in Return of the Living Dead reboot.
It could be like Alien versus Predator. Yeah. It could be like Return of the Living Dead versus
Charman versus CHUD.
Yes.
Versus Bud the CHUD.
Is Bud still alive?
Garrett Graham. I think he is.
Hollywood, get on the phone. Get on him. Get in there.
Maybe we might
I need some Bud the CHUD in my Return of the Living Dead.
We might need a recasting for Bud the CHUD. Maybe
he probably looked the same. It don't matter. He's dead.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess they could just.
Any makeup might make him look better.
Even if he is dead, they could just resurrect him.
Just get out of your car and just show up. It don't matter.
But I think that what we were talking about this earlier is like, why were there only 2 CHUDs? Why were they only 2 CHUDs?
Well, because the second one was in name only.
Yeah, I mean, did it kill the franchise that hard? Like, I feel like we've recovered.
I can't imagine
from
the
worse.
Second one set the box office on fire.
No, well, it actually was direct to video.
Yeah. Did the first one even set the world on fire?
But I feel like, and I wonder this, and I can't find any information about it. Is CHUD 2 even a legitimate sequel? Like, did the distributor just decide it was CHUD 2 and didn't really go through any proper channels? CHUD in the movies stands for, in the movies it stands for Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers, and it has a secondary one where it's like, has a secondary acronym which I can't remember right now, but it's about some sort of development of something underground. And then, but they're in New York and maybe in other places too, there's the Center of Urban Housing and Development. Or the Center of Housing and Urban Development, other way around.
Yeah, because HUD's already the housing.
There's
So
HUD.
they just stuck the C on the front.
Yeah, and I think that was a thing that you saw stenciled on construction sites and things like that. And I think that's probably whoever inspired the person to write the first CHUD. They probably saw that stenciled around or saw signs that said CHUD. In urban areas and went, oh, this would be, this sounds like a monster or something. I'm going to write a story. So I don't even know if CHUD is a licensable or trademarkable term, because there's also that website, right? Isn't there a website called CHUD?
Probably.
And it has nothing to do with the movies or anything. So, I'm wondering if. And like I said, there's no data on it, but is CHUD 2 even a legit sequel?
This is under the legacy under Wikipedia, and they just said that CHUD was negatively received in its initial release, but it had a cult following over the years that inspired the sequel.
Yeah.
So the cult following is what got the sequel, not the finances, because it didn't do good.
Yeah. So anyhow, but I just feel like we should have had 5 CHUDs. What I always wanted to do is like test the waters, okay?
And CHUD 2 was written by the writer of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, yes. That's under a pseudonym.
Yeah.
Under a pseudonym.
Yeah.
What did you have the thing about it was the W.C. Fields pseudonym?
Yeah. But I think if I recall, I don't know if it's that same person, but I think they're tied back to Return of the Living Dead also. If you have to look up that name.
Oh, interesting. And maybe because it was a proposed sequel for Return of the Living Dead initially.
And I guess they shot 3 different versions of CHUD 2. And so one of them straight up comedy, one was much more horror and gory, and then one for TV.
And then they just sort of pick and mix in the editing room.
Yeah, and
that's such a weird way to make a movie. To not know which tone you're going to go with.
And
imagine what that would be like. Not writing a script and coming up with it as you go and making it up in the edit. I wonder how that would be.
That would be dumb.
People that do that must be idiots.
Yeah. I think that.
Then again, I guess you'd have to be a real control freak to not want to do it that way.
Well, that person's not an idiot, right?
So I would think like if I wanted to test the waters with a sequel, what I would do is I would put Beyond CHUD, right? Because Beyond the Valley of the Dolls has nothing to do with Valley of the Dolls. Mm-hmm. And then
Beyond the CHUD of the dolls.
And then if
CHUD harder.
CHUD harder.
CHUD harder.
But if it's beyond
CHUD on a skateboard.
But if someone were to come after me, then Beyond CHUD would just be the tagline, and then you'd have the real title show up later: Cannibaloids. So it could be just Beyond CHUD ... Cannibaloids.
Boogeroids was one of your
Oh,
ideas.
boogeroids. Yeah, I mean, I've got a roids problem.
Roids problem. There's the title. CHUD 3 Roids problem.
So apparently in 2007, Rob Zombie was rumored to make a remake of CHUD.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh, interesting.
I remember hearing about it back then.
Although I feel like Rob Zombie has 11,000 rumored projects. You know,
He pitches lots of stuff and then just gets bored with them and moves on.
Yeah.
Because I remember he was going to do The Crow with Jason Momoa.
Oh, right.
At one
And then
point.
The Blob, too.
Yeah, The Blob.
Yeah. I actually heard an interview with him once on a local radio station in Philly where he was going to do a documentary. I think it was the 1976 Philadelphia Flyers.
Oh,
they called them the
Broad Street Bullies.
Yes, yeah, and he was doing an interview saying he was going to do this documentary. That he was so fascinated with these guys, and it never happened.
It never happened.
Never happened.
Drugs are bad. That's the lesson.
But the lesson is though he just did Monsters instead and called it a day, right?
Yeah, right.
So I heard at one point he was going to do a remake of Halloween, and then, I mean, thank God that never happened.
Yeah, God, can you imagine how terrible that would be? Well, at least he did. I'm glad thing he didn't do that, because then they probably would have given him another one.
Oh no!
I had tried to do a third one in 3D, but by then it's going to fall apart.
Wasn't that was one of the things too? One of these movies was supposed to be in 3D. Was it Return? I think Return of the Living Dead was supposed to be in 3D originally.
What, the original one?
I believe so. Was it the original one or was it the second one?
Interesting.
It was one of them. One of them had kicked up at one point during my
and maybe
video viewing.
I know there was a
because
lot.
it was because Jaws 3D was out at around the same time.
Yeah.
It was a big thing, and then they finally they trashed it
In '83, and again, Return of the Living Dead was in development for a long time. They were going to do a Godzilla 3D. They were going to do which Fred Decker worked on. Remember when we interviewed him? Jaws 3D, of course, actually did come out. Amityville 3D.
You mean the Sharkening?
The Sharkening, yeah. Amityville 3D, and with the House of Pancakes.
House of Pancakes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But all those
Hockey Face in 3D.
Yes, Hockey Face, Revenge of Hockey Face. All those 3D movies came out, and so it's possible that in that craze, if they were developing Return of the Living Dead,
and we forgot Steel Magnolias.
Yes, right, exactly.
Miss Minton's personal favorite.
And I think that probably it's possible, and luckily Dan O'Bannon came in there, and because I think that John Russo's book is really different from the movie, and I think that Dan O'Bannon came in there with the sensibility of, okay, we're already treading in George Romero's domain. Let's have fun with it. Let's do something different. Let's make it funny. Let's turn everything inside out. Let's go some directions that George Romero couldn't or wouldn't go, and I'm glad that they did that, because it is actually legitimately one of my favorite movies for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't believe I put it on for Aaron. I was thinking, well, Aaron needs to watch this. I just sat and watched it all over again, and enjoyed it just as much. And
I was surprised how much I remembered.
On a scale of 1 to 2, which is it? Night of the Living Dead or Return of the Living Dead? Which one's first? Which one's second? No ties.
Wow, that's really tough. Boy. Oh, you can't have one without the other. That's really tough. I think with Return of the Living Dead. See, this is the Return of the Living Dead episode.
What a way to end it.
So it kind of sucks. I'm kind of painted in a corner, because I'm like, well, I kind of have a more personal connection to Night of the Living Dead because I actually made an episode with that.
Right.
But I would kill to make an episode with Return of the Living Dead, because I do have a real strong connection with that material, and I love the humor.
Say Night of the Living Dead's probably the better film. Return of the Living Dead is probably the better movie.
I like that.
Because one's more fun.
Yeah.
And the other one has more to say.
I like that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Return of the Living Dead is my first zombie movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's always been like the measure.
The gold standard.
Yeah.
Huh? Wow.
So easy. That's my favorite of the two.
Wow.
That's my favorite of almost all of them.
Something I wanted to say, since we're talking about the ending, is that movie, you were talking about how much fun it is. Everyone dies at the end. He died. Everyone dies.
You can't have a sequel.
But what works about that, because like A Little Shop of Horrors is a comedy horror, and like tested really badly because
they had to change the ending.
Changed the ending because in the stage play, everyone comes out and takes their bow, and it works. In a movie, it was really hard to recover from all the characters dying. In Return of the Living Dead, they get around this by kind of having their curtain call. You see all of the funniest scenes in the movie all over again with the pumping music. Do you want to party? Bum ba-da. And they've got that music, that music, and every not a bad question, Bert. And you mean the movie Lied? And all of those funny lines from the movie. Yeah, like all of those silly moments from that. Trash is taking off her clothes again, and you see those moments again. And you remember how much fun you had, and you walk out of that theater feeling great, even though Louisville, Kentucky is destroyed by an atomic bomb at the end of that movie.
Well, not only that, they're destroyed, but they didn't even stop it. They're just restarting the whole problem.
Exactly, because
it's going to cycle all over again.
The fires go up into the clouds, and the clouds turn into acid rain, and the acid rain trickles down, and it goes into the soil, and it just never ends. Never ever, ever ends. Just like this whole franchise. It never, ever, ever.
Rats in my room. I am bothered by those rats in my room.
You have been listening to the Sleepless Knights podcast, or should we say, pODDcast. pODDcast. Emphasis on the odd. Our theme is by Mars Homeworld at Deadhouse Music. Our opening announcement is by Ophelia Necro. She does a radio show called Suicide Watch. Patreon supporters get to hear this podcast before anyone else, and a lot of other great stuff, right, Paul?
Sure.
Doesn't get it better than that, right? So come join the fun at
patreon.com/Sleepless Knights podcast.
Please stay up with us next week for another Sleepless Knights podcast. Or should we say, pODDcast. pODDcast. The best thing about being an insomniac is never having to say goodnight.
Good night.